But so we'll do this quickly because I can see that you're in the middle of something, but we had promised to be here, and here you are. Okay, it's a pleasure having you. So we'll just go straight into the meat of the matter of what we have to look at today. And I want to start from this year's exams that we just had. And the results sometimes can be a bit troubling. Registrar of JAM, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, recently announced the release of JAM, and we had the figures that were spelled out, the number of people who took part, the number of people who had registered, the different scores that they had, those who got above 300, and so on. And some are being investigated, some were withheld. I would like to find out what actually leads to results being withheld, because I know you've been releasing some in batches. What are the parameters you look at before withholding results?
Well, you know, if you look at it, or rather if you had followed our processes, you will see that we've actually taken enormous advantage of technology. We put some mechanism on ground to ensure that we check infraction, even though we have reduced that to the PRS minimum. But we are still not taking chances because examination infraction is a global trend that is happening across the world. And if you look at in some countries like India, you will see that the trend is even increasing. While here, we are fighting it, nipping in the bud and reducing it. But that's notwithstanding. We have those things on ground to ensure that nobody cheats, nobody takes advantage of whatever it is to place himself above others. So immediately after the examination, there are some that even at the center, some of them had manifested some of these incidences of infractions. Those are clear cases. Outright this thing will give the candidate the opportunity to defend themselves. Now, where the explanation are not satisfactory, those results are outrightly withheld. Then for those that we have seen through CCTV camera or remote monitoring from the headquarters and stuff like that, we ensure that we go deeper to investigate to see their level of culpability. Because our watchword is that we don't want to involve anybody if we don't have sufficient evidence to prove that cannot case. Just as the law says, it is better to allow 100 criminals to go scot-free than to punish one innocent person. So where these cases are clearly established that, yes, this is instance of examination infraction, those results are withheld.
Now, having said that, we're doing the CBT and all that, so we have cloud-based results and so on. A lot of people with the experience from the last elections, INEC and so on, people wonder, once we're talking computers, internet in Nigeria, they don't trust anymore. So this may sound weird to some people, but I think I'd like to find out your servers and the INEC servers, which one can we trust much or more? Is your server very safe, or how do you store these results?
We don't have anything in the cloud.
Okay.
What we have, and I believe what INEC also practices, is of a kind of an archaic system of storing data. We don't have our results in the cloud. There is difference in INEC processes with our processes. The INEC processes, when you talk about upload of results, that is using internet and all this, our operation has zero use for internet. I've seen where people talk about internet and all this. We don't have internet anywhere. What we have is local area network. Our systems are connected to each other during examination. And when results are marked, we don't put them in the cloud. Our result storage system is not in the cloud. What we only bring at times and put in the cloud for candidates to check is just a component of that result, which is not used for anything. And once we want to give institutions this result, we take it from our system and send it directly to the institution. So there is no way you can hack into our system. If I have a computer that is not connected to the internet and I'm using it to do whatever I want to do, the possibility of anybody hacking to it is zero. So that is why when people talk about hacking and all these things, it's alien to us because we don't have a process that anybody can hack. Our result is not in the cloud. Our questions are not in the cloud. Our processes are not in the cloud. The only thing we do that you may even say, okay, use of internet, all this is deployment of our question, which takes less than a minute. Once these things are deployed, they are now stored in the server of the centers. Those servers are not connected to any internet. And then they are encrypted. And then they are distributed to the various terminals, one of the terminals, those computers and stuff like that. for candidates to take the examination. And once they finish, they upload back to the server, and the server upload back to us. So there is no anything about cloud there and all this thing for anybody to pass. So result is very simple.
So how do they manage to check the results at the end of the day, sending of codes and so on? How does that technology work?
That is why, if you see how we are checking our result now, we're using telcos. You send results to 5001 and it pull your result from our database and send it to you. That explains that it is not in the cloud. It is in the server somewhere. The telcos are pulling it. And it pull what belongs to you. They are also testing this is your result and so on. We will put it later in the cloud. But what we are putting in the cloud is just for the candidate to see. By the time it gets to admissions, processes, and other things, it is not that which is in the cloud that is used. We send it directly to the institution. So when you present yourself for admissions and so on, the institution cross-check whatever you are presenting against what we have given to them. So there is no need transaction in the cloud for anybody to go and begin to see how you can manipulate all this and then take this to the result anywhere. And I explain why if you follow the Mr. My episode, you will notice that she kept checking. She checked almost 14 times. Because at the point, people were collecting money from her, promising her that they have done something. And while she checked, she would still see the same result. So she kept checking, thinking that at the point it will change. But all at the time she was checking, she was still seeing the same result that she had pulled for the telco channel.
Okay. I get it clearer now, and I hope that people listening are also getting it clearer, because some people were quite worried that, okay, this could be hacked, this could this and all that. And maybe that may just have a reason why the failure seem to be rising, because some of these children sometimes may just be depending on expos and so on. One can't really say. But for this year, and the result was released, and about 70% or so of the results show that the students, that percentage didn't score above 200, and is worrisome. Has JAMB been able to come out with some reasons why they think, based on the pattern of failure, why they think that more students are failing or falling below 200? Because it's over 400 and you now score below 200.
There is nothing like failure. There is nothing like failure in our exam. Nobody fails JAMB and nobody passes JAMB. Rather, the person that even passed, that you could discuss in that time, is he who, in the final analysis, is admitted. It is a ranking examination. And I really want the media to really understand this. Let us not behave like the people, the farmers. We have a global practice. This is a tool in educational assessment. These are conventional practices. That if you go to the net, you see these things. They are not, in fact, the internet has made it so easy now that even when things happen outside your field, you can have a knowledge, a semblance of the operation of such a system for you to understand how these things work. The exam we conduct is called a selection examination. It is not attitudinal. The purpose, because every exam has its own purpose. The purpose of this exam is to rank candidates. Many candidates are competing for very few slots, and then what you do, and you now devise a method of saying, okay, let us conduct an examination and select out of, using that examination, select this candidate. For instance, if you look at our name, Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, examination is not there. It is not a mistake. It is deliberate. Because the framers of that, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, didn't have examination at the back of their mind. The essence of ab initio was a system that could coordinate this process for universities. JAMB was not established by government. It was established by the first generation universities, the six universities in ABU, Ibadan, Ifea, University of Lagos, and so on. That came together and said, look, admission is beginning to grow in numbers, and we cannot begin to take this pressure. And candidates are applying to so many places, depriving other candidates of slots in other places, because if the candidate applies to all the six universities and is given admission, all the six universities will be expected that he will report to them. And then he will deprive others of those slots, because at the end, he will only report to one university, while other 5 slots are missing. Because by the time they discover that he's not coming, admission would have been closed. And they came together and said, let's have a central body. That was how JAMB came into be. Government only came into it and took it over when he discovered that, yes, this thing has a lot of use, especially after the Civil War, and then the unification and all those things, and to guarantee, fairness, equity, and stuff like that. So examination became a vehicle. What do we do to ensure that everybody is given equal opportunity? That explains why examination is there. For instance, if in your station in Lagos, and in the governor says he wants to see 5 people, and then you attend. And you're thinking, how do we select these 5 people that nobody will feel there? Because everybody, maybe the 10 of you wants to go. And you say, okay, let us just do examination. They say, when was Lagos State created? And the first person, maybe out of those questions, you have 10 questions. The first person scored 9 over 10. He's picked. The second person scored 3 over 10. He's picked. The first person, the third person, 2 over 10. He's picked. The fifth person, 1 over 10. You won't say he has failed examination. You're going to pick it because the purpose of admission is not for anything, it's to select. What qualifies a candidate for admission is the 5 O-level credit as defined by the Arusha Convention. And that explains why our interaction with this candidate is just 2 hours. They went to primary school, went to secondary school, they wrote their DSS3, had continual assessment, wrote their WAEC and stuff like that. Our interaction is only 2 hours. If the examination was actually to rate and then talk about pass or fail, we will not be interacting with them for 2 hours. We cannot interact with the candidate for 2 hours and then begin to talk about his competence and all those things. That is an aberration in measurement. So there's nobody that says, for instance, if I score 180 or 170 and I want to read physics, maybe in university somewhere, and I'll be admitted. A candidate that scored 320 that wants to read medicine in University of Lagos, chances are that he will not be picked. Because with that 320 on medicine slot, he may be number 100, number 300. He will not be picked. So if these 2 candidates are placed side by side, who will you say has passed the exam or who has failed the exam? Because the man that scored 320 is not admitted. The man that scored 170 is admitted. So who has actually succeeded? The man that is admitted.
Doc, you see, this thing you just said, you said that nobody passes, nobody fails. I don't think you should blame anybody for using pass or fail. Because when you talk about examinations, they are meant to be passed or to be failed. Except you want to stop using it completely when we're talking about this and just stick to selection. You know, but as he say, once examination...
Let me, sorry, don't get it wrong, please. I want you to be educated.
I'm very educated. You say use another term for me. No, use another term. Use another term. Use another term.
Don't say when you say examination, then there's a pass or fail. No, that is wrong. It's not in every examination that you pass or fail. That is examination that has to do with health. There's no pass or fail about it. So examination, it depends on the purpose. If you say when you talk about examination, then pass and fail is there, is wrong. That is what I want you to understand. You can go ahead with your question.
We can. What I also am saying here is that we're talking about education. We're talking about schools, except we're changing it because when we talk about schools, since I was a child, when they say examination for school, that is what usually follows it. So it doesn't sound like the miseducation of Miss Lauren Hill. That's why we need to.
But that
get
is
it
what
clear.
I want you to understand.
I understand what you are saying. I understand.
This is our business
yes,
we're talking about.
It's your business.
There is a whole examination. Examination is a process. It's in measurement, in psychometrics and stuff like that.
Exactly.
That is the process.
See, it is your Doc, give me a second. I agree it is your process. I agree it is your field. I agree about everything. And one thing you also agree with me is the fact that we're talking about education, as I mentioned before, and you now said something that somebody may score 100 and something and may be able to get into a course that you met the cutoff mark for. Somebody may score 300 or so, and the university they picked, it may not even be up to. So you now said, so in such a state, who made it and who did not make it? You were using it to explain to me the idea of no, they don't pass nor fail. Exam. I think part of the reason we're doing this also is to help people understand how you use your terminologies, how you go about with your own rankings, your own selections, and so on. Because if virtually everybody will be saying, oh, I failed, or I passed JAM, that means there's something there. So if we're going about saying, no, it's a selection, maybe we'll make it clearer. And that is part of what we're doing today. You understand what I'm saying? So that was what I was saying, telling me, let me educate you. That word sounded weird.
You got it wrong. You also got that wrong. When somebody says, let me educate you, doesn't mean that you're not educated.
You know, see.
Because education is a continuous process. We can never be educated until the day we die.
I know.
We keep acquiring, we keep getting ourselves educated in different fields. So when somebody says, let me educate you, what he's saying is that in this particular area, let me educate you. He's not saying that you have not gone to school. Of course.
I know you're not saying that now. Because after doctor, the next thing you may become is a professor. I understand what you're saying.
But let me, because of time, let me also say something. You know, a lot of people get these things wrong. You see, if you look at the A-level component of admission we do,
yes,
the rule says two A-level passes. When you have 2 A-level passes, you're qualified to be admitted into direct entry. Now, when you look at that 2 A-level passes, that gives you 4 points. And when you look at 4 points over 15, it falls below the 50% that people are already looking at. But nobody talks about that. You understand? Because if you score a pass in any A-level exam, be it IJMB, GPF, and all this, you have 2 points. And you have 2 points. You are qualified to be admitted. What may prevent you from being admitted is the competition. Because in everything we do, competition is there. Just like when we come out with minimum admission score, what people call cutoff point, and somebody say it is low, it is low, and we get the stop. It's a minimum. Just as I've explained now, 2 passes, 2 A-level passes qualify you to be admitted. But with the competition now, there are professors today in their own right, very renowned professors today that went to universities with those 2 passes. But in the present day in Nigeria, it is almost impossible for you to be admitted with those 2 passes. Not because it is not allowed, but because competition has made it impossible. In a situation whereby for a program that is supposed to admit maybe 100 candidates, you have 600 competing. And out of these 600, you have more than 200 having more than, let's say, 10 points. There is no way you go and take somebody with 4 points, even though, yes, the rule says you can take it. But in the eye of the law, he has made the minimum requirement.
Yeah.
But when competition comes in, when they are ranked, that's where ranking comes in. When these candidates are ranked, he has no place at all. So that is why we talk about our examination. It is not a fail pass. It is an issue of ranking.
Yeah.
Because one thing that we must understand also is this. Universities or tertiary institutions globally don't have the same rating. You cannot, somebody was telling me, if somebody scored to 180, he cannot go to University of Lagos. I say, yes, I am that. In that way, so he has failed. I said, no, University of Lagos is not the only university in Nigeria. The University of Lagos has developed their template, they have developed themselves, they are ranked, they are understood, they are seen at a particular standard. That is what they want to do.
So, Doc,
Doc,
if we now look at what not just parents, even stakeholders, and so when I say stakeholders, people who have, say, words, children, and so on, who would want to go into school, why don't we try what they've been saying all the while, that after you do this, your selection process, right? I'll be using that word selection now, having had this conversation with you. After that selection process, the universities are still going to have another selection process. And they'll say it's post-UTME. Why bother? Why don't we just allow the universities themselves? You know, this conversation has been on for like forever. Why don't we allow the universities to just do it themselves? Some people are tempted, because I have a quote here from a PDP chieftain who had an interview recently in Asaba. He was saying that the whole process is like it's just to make money, because by the time they finish all these things, you find a lot of those who did not meet up to the selection figures, and the universities will still do theirs. They have, say, 400 spaces available, but we've sold forms to over almost 1 million or 1,800,000 for 400 spots. That now means the excess 1.4 million is just excess cash, because out of all that, we're only taking 400 people. So why don't we just allow them do their own selection of the 400? Or is it just a case of let's make some money? That was the point the chief made. Go ahead.
You see, there is no system anywhere that does not allow universities to have an input into the admission. It's a natural happenstance that the university, who are the end user of this process, must also have a say in who comes to them. There are so many universities today. If you look at in percentages, a reasonable number of them, about 60% of them, don't do any post-UTME examination. What they do is screening. They call it post-UTME, but they only screen. You come, you bring your credential, and they screen you to see if you are actually, whatever you claim, whether you possess it. But what I'm trying to say in essence is that there is no way as you say, the social institution should just sit and not have input in who comes to them. It is a normal thing. Again, let me talk about whether it's the revenue generation and all these things and stuff like that. If tomorrow we allow universities to be doing what we're doing. I bet you a candidate may spend close to 100,000 by only buying forms, because you're not only going to buy one form. Today you pay 3,500 for JAM, and you apply to all it about 1,000 tertiary institutions in Nigeria. The 3,500 you pay, you apply to all the tertiary institutions in Nigeria. That is one of the advantage of having a central body controlling the thing, because that 3,000 qualifies you for all institutions. But if JAM is not there, what means is that you buy University of Lagos form, you buy Nsuka form, you buy ABU form. If you decide to buy BUK, you also buy their form. That is one. Let me also make this very clear that I've said it earlier, that JAM was not established by government. It was the same universities themselves that came together to establish JAM. And their original intention was not for JAM to be doing examination. We can tomorrow decide not to be doing examination if we have a method that can guarantee equity and fairness. What the university wanted then was what I just told you, that a central body advertises, candidate applies through them, and they only aggregate this candidate and send to us individually. They take this chunk off, just as what is practiced in other clients. If you go to UK today, what UCAS does, UCAS does not conduct examination, but they only collect the various applicants, aggregate these applicants for various. The universities conduct their examination themselves and stuff like that. Well, why not? If the Nigerian desire that system, we can go back to that system where we don't even do examination. You apply to us, we collect these processes, send you to the school for this. But we only believe, because of the nature of where we come from, that it will be impossible for candidates to have that kind of fairness, equity, if everybody is allowed to do whatever he's doing. Because today, if you look at even our admission process, the software we have created, the CAPS, what we do is that we sit down. Every institution has a desk officer in our office, and his responsibility is to check to ensure that every candidate is given the equal rights that he deserves to compete with others. If a candidate ranks, just as I told you, rank number 3, the institution have no right to pick number 4 without picking that number 3. Yeah. And I will ask this question: do you think it will be possible if there is nobody that is actually regulating this kind of process? If, for instance, in Ibadan today, where I am now, attending a conference in the University of Ibadan, there is no any system regulating it. The universities are just allowed to do whatever it is. Do you think a man from Sokoto or a man from Nsuka, we have the fairness, the desire to aspire to come to the University of Ibadan, given the kind of nature of things that are happening in our dear country today? But with JAM, in fact, one of the things we're even doing, we're even going beyond our brief to ensure that these universities admit candidates not only in Nigeria, but they have a quota for foreign students. Because we understand that, look, if you have a university that is just local, today we are ranked poorly, not because we don't have the intellectual capacity to compete with top universities, the Ivy University like Harvard or Yale and stuff like that, but because we are not visible, we are not seen. Because hardly you get to somewhere, maybe you are in Colorado in the US, for you to see a product of maybe ABU or University of Lagos and stuff like that. But with international students coming here and there and stuff like that, at least we enhance the visibility of this institution. And once you have visibility, your ranking will also be better. So there's a lot that we do, but people are always reducing us to the issue of conducting exams, and then somebody, whether he passes or he fails in their own words, at the university position.
That is why you're here now, to let us know more about what you do. Joseph Olorenshaw has something he would like to say too.
Doctor, thank you for joining us, Joseph Olorenshaw. Beyond the selection process, what the school do when during admission process, what to me is as if a JAM is not on top. There are so many times a student even get above the cutoff point, but sometimes they will say that the JAM combination of that course, because of that, they will not give him admission. It has happened even in my school, University of Lagos.
How does that happen? Who gives them the combination? Do they usually get the combination from the JAM form, or you just put it yourself? I don't remember
you select the subject. I have a student who applied for political science in Unilag. He has all his O level, but they say he did mathematics in his JAM exam. Because of that, the student was denied admission, even when he has 7 marks above the cutoff point. So, what is JAM do to assist this kind of student?
You see, we have a process. I told you earlier, just by way of background, that JAM was not established by government or by this institution. And for everything, if you look at our law, you see that we conduct admission in collaboration with tertiary institutions. So we are talking about syllabus here. For syllabus development, we ask institutions, look, University of Lagos, for 2025, submit to us your requirements. That is how the process starts. It's automated. You go there, you submit your requirement. For instance, you say physics. The candidate will need physics, mathematics, and maybe one social science subject and so like that. These requirements are aggregated and put into what we call the brochure. And it is from this requirement that will come up with what we call the UTME subject combination. That for medicine, you write biology, you write physics, you write chemistry. English is compulsory for everybody. One of the essences is that this subject must be relevant to the program you want to undertake in university. That is one. Two, that everybody aspiring to this subject, to this program, must also write to compete favorably. Even our question, that's what we call is a commentary calibration. Calibration, we're doing CBT now. CBT is not one day. And the question people will ask you is that, okay, if I write exam today is Friday, and somebody writes tomorrow, Saturday, how are we sure that the difficulty level will be the same? Because we're looking at fairness and equity. In fact, the whole mark of everything we do is that everybody must be given equal opportunity to compete. And that explains why scholars, they came up with that calibration. Calibration is that you must calibrate the subject, the difficulty level at the same level. That even if I'm answering a different question in mathematics, the difficulty level of that question I'm answering must be the same with the difficulty level of Mr. P. So that explains why you cannot, if I want to read medicine today, instead of writing biology, chemistry, physics, I will now go and write geography. And that geography, maybe because geography, maybe the difficulty level is a little different, I will now score geography 90. The person that wrote biology will now score biology 70. And you expect that you be placed above him. No. You must do the same thing. So these things are preloaded. Candidates are informed. So it is an aberration in the first instance if your subject combination is wrong. In fact, you should not even be considered for admission. Not talking about giving you admission and everything. You shouldn't even be considered for admission because you have failed the basic requirement for that particular program. If I want to read medicine today and I scored 400, for instance, hypothetically, and then it is discovered that instead of writing biology, I wrote mathematics, I am disqualified. There is no way any university will give me admission for that medicine. The only thing I can do...
Is there no way that child, for instance, would have known that that combination was wrong? Because you explained some things now. Is there no way he could have known?
The child will not be able to register for that course in University of Lagos.
Yeah, because because sometimes when you're filling some forms, even online, you get to a point, they'll say, cling, that there is an error somewhere, and they'll now show you maybe a wrong combination or something like that. Is that not a possibility?
You see, I'm happy you asked this question because the whole problem we're having in this nation borders on this question you have asked. One of the first requirements for an examination is instruction. Once you get instruction wrong, you have failed that examination. Our registration process starts from where you create what we call profile. I send my name to 55019. And then our system pulls your details from music. It pulls your name, it pulls your date of birth, it pulls your local government and stuff like that. And immediately that thing is sent to you. A link is sent to you, what we call IBAS. IBAS is sent to you. That IBAS, once you click on that IBAS, it takes you to your brochure, to your syllabus. The essence is for you, one, you just go to you don't need to read the whole thing. I want to study medicine. I just click on medicine. Once I click on medicine, it gives me my O-level required combination. Oh, for me to study medicine, University of Ibadan. When you go to medicine, you go to university. It is that specific. I want to go to University of Ibadan. I want to go to ABU. To tell you, for you to study medicine in ABU, you will need X, Y, Z in your O-level. And then UTME combination, you will need X, Y, Z. That is the first stage. But the challenge we have as a nation today, and why at times we feel very bitter when people talk about people candidates not doing well in examination, and then they begin to call examination body and then all this to explain it, is the meaning. These candidates don't read. You need to be in your center to see what is happening. We have, for you to sit down to register for the exercise, we create every center, you have 2 screens. You sit down, the registration officer is keying your data, you are sitting down on the other side, you are watching. And these candidates will see, they will first of all give you a form, you fill that form for evidence. So that when you come tomorrow, you won't say, this is not what I feel. You give the registration officer, as he is key in your data that you have filled, you are expected to be seeing what he's writing. I want to go to ABU. Did he write ABU? Yes, he wrote ABU. Some of these candidates, they will write something differently. Their intention is different. The person will fill in what they've written. They will not even see it. I don't know where their minds are. And then they will come back later and say, no, this is not what I have filled. And then we'll go through all the stress, rigors, wasting executive time to pull the form they have filled, only for you to see, and they will say, oh, we are sorry. So it borders on reading, because you must read to understand. Somebody wants to ask you, say, if you're not reading, why can't you just print this thing? If the candidate wants to write medicine, you print it and give it to him, and you tell him. How do you want to reduce this nation to that level? You have 2 million candidates registering for an examination. You begin to follow candidates one by one to ask him, what do you want to read? He says, medicine. Okay, medicine, you're going to write biology and all these things. Candidate, do come. You, what do you want to read? You know, that kind of a thing. These things are made very simple. In fact, my daughter is in SS1 now. She has even downloaded the syllabus. That is, you can go, we have on the Google, on the Apple Play Store. You can download the syllabus there and begin to get yourself familiar with everything even before you register the exercise. So these are the issues. So if a candidate decides to write mathematics instead of, some of them will just look at it and they think they are smart. When I was in secondary school, I was also thinking along that line. I would feel that, this subject I'm not too good in. I really want to read this program, but I'm not good in this subject. Let me put the subject, assemble the subject I'm good in, that will score higher. It doesn't work that way.
So that may just be part of what is the major challenge some have with the CBT, because we hear that there are usually some glitches and they have challenges with the CBT and all that. Is that part of the issue, or sometimes it's just technical?
Well, glitches are normal to human endeavor, challenges are normal, and they exist anywhere. There is no any human endeavor that you impact on, especially as massive as what we do, that you expect that you won't have one or two hiccups here and there. The 2024 exercise will examine candidates in 774 centers across the nation. And if you have that kind of examination, 2 million candidates just within less than 1 week, we about the largest, about the only country in the world that examines such a number. Even India don't examine at a stop the way we do, or China. So if you have done that examination and you have, let's say, 20, 30 centers having one or two issues, or candidate having glitches here and there, it is expected. But the most important thing that I keep telling people is that, what is the preparation that the board has made? What are the proactive measures that we are taking, that if this thing do happen, what do we do about it? That is the most important thing. Yes, you are doing this thing. You invested that there could be problem because you are dealing with large number of people, large number of infrastructure and all this. Has it made adequate preparation to ensure that when they come, you address them? In 2024, we had about 95 centers that had issues. Out of these 95, only one actually failed outrightly. Some of them had glitches, and then these candidates were able to manage and all this, and there was a little delay and all this, but they wrote the examination. Some of them that could not write, especially in that one center that failed outright, they've been scheduled. When you talk about biometric verification, yes, there are candidates that failed biometric, all this, and those candidates that failed biometric, we're even talking about looking at how we can schedule another examination for them and stuff like that. So for every of those challenges, we have a solution. And one assurance we keep giving Nigerians that once you register, you indicate, you express your interest to sit our examination, certainly you are going to take the examination. Nothing will stop you from taking the examination. Maybe it will delay. And we have adequate provision for every nature of glitch that happens for the candidate, for candidate to see their examination.
And I see that you've taken what do I say? How do I say now? Enough precautions with the kind of people you work with, some tertiary institutions and so on, for the CBT. And I see JAM is spending a lot of money to ensure it works, because from 2023, what I have here is that about 1.4 billion naira was spent for the CBT's centers and so on. With that going on, are they meeting up to standards? Are they up to standards in their activities? Plus, the reports of some trying to exploit the students. How was JAM able to deal with that? Because I know at a point that some warnings were sent out and some investigations were being carried out about CBT centers trying to exploit the students. How did all this go?
Well, we are, one of the things we do is ensure that our candidates are not exposed to exploitation by some of the stakeholders that we use. So we are always monitoring, regulating even prices and stuff like that to ensure that they don't just charge arbitrary fees and stuff like that. When you talk about 1.4 billion, that is just maybe a part of what we have spent. We spend more than that. The process starts, towards the end of the process. We start from developing items, that's what we call our questions and stuff like that. Then we go on and on and on and get to examination and stuff like that. So much is spent. But the most important thing is that we ensure that these candidates are protected. These candidates are not allowed to, at the vagaries of these CBT centers and so on. Because when you allow market forces to interact with these people, you discover that the charges will be high and so like that. And that explains why when people begin to talk about what we charge and all this, at times we laugh, because if you allow candidates to just go to the center and the center to charge them whatever they feel, you will see what the trend is. But a lot of money, yes, a lot of money is being spent. But we at the same time ensure that we regulate this process to ensure that candidates are not cheated.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'll bring us also to this point where somebody had sent a message, so let me take this. The person says, years ago when I wrote JAM, in the brochure it was written in UNILAG requirements that at least a pass in geography in SSCE, which I got. I gained admission, but on the day of the registration, this same school said, I can't complete my admission process because I got a pass in geography. But in their requirements on the JAM brochure, a pass was what they requested. It was a hell of stress going to the school for months trying to seek a resolution. At the end, nothing came out of it. And the person is now asking, why should a school ask for a requirement that they would later reject?
Well, you see, that is one of the reasons I addressed a problem last year where a candidate in Ekiti University was top in the class. He scored, I think, 350 or there in UTME, and he was not admitted. And he raised a ticket. He went to apply for raise a ticket. This is my score. And the university, they are refusing to admit me and all this things. And we followed through. In fact, his case was such that they had even finished admission. But the DC with pressure, we insisted on losing this candidate for whatever it is he was admitted, because he deserved the admission. If that candidate had written to us, because what we do now, we have ticketing platform. You don't even need to come to our office, just go to our site and raise the ticket. We would have followed through. If we discover that at the point he had that examination, that was the requirement as sent by the school, nothing will stop him from being registered. So one of the regulatory roles we play is that we ensure that candidates' rights are obeyed and stuff like that.
Joseph?
Yeah, Doctor, the other issue that I don't know how JAM can equally help to address it is, in Nigeria, we are still having issue with data. Correcting your name, date of birth with JAM has been a very big problem for some students, especially in your office in Ikoyi. What are you doing to assist students? Maybe date of birth, his own date of birth that the father told him is not correct,
okay,
and is
so you're
already
talking
there.
General corrections.
The correction, yes. The name, some student maybe is Chidebe Ebube, but because his colleague call him Ebube, he want to do JAM, he put Ebube. Then he now sees date of birth, name there is Chide Ebube. It become a big challenge. So what are you doing to assist students that are in this kind of
in fact, let me say this clearly. We don't correct date of birth. Any application you are doing for date of birth, you are just wasting your money.
Why don't you
correct date of birth?
Why?
Because you indicated that this is your date of birth. You cannot be born twice. We are not the one that put that date of birth for you. You were the one that said, I was born in 1980. You cannot come back and tell us that you are born in 1970. Because you see, these are identity issues. Even men, we can correct where you say Chidebere and then maybe Chi is there, Bere is not there. It can be corrected. But we have had situations whereby people want to completely change the name. Completely. The man is Fabian Benjamin, and he just felt that he wants to change the Fabian to Austin. That is a different identity. Austin Benjamin and Fabian Benjamin, they are two different identities. We don't also do that. We can only correct the name, but we cannot change your name, and we cannot add another name. So I want Nigerians to do that clearly. Any application you are doing for change of name, for addition of name, for removal of name, for correction of this or that, you are just wasting that resources.
Did it have a year? Because some they go there say no, between 2018 down we can do it.
From the kingdom country today, we don't do it.
Doc. No.
We don't.
The way you said it is like nothing you can do.
There are very overwhelming evidence.
Yeah.
Very overwhelming. Very overwhelming. Otherwise, you would just see what we would just write the response with NYSC syndrome.
What is that?
Because you see most of this NYSC syndrome.
What is
you
it?
will see that most of these people are applying for this change of date of birth. The man was admitted 4 years ago. He didn't know that his date of birth was wrong, only for him to get to 400 level. And then all of a sudden, maybe it's 31 years. And when you look at their age, you see that most of them are above the 30 years threshold of NYSC. And he's trying to see how he can correct it so that he can go for NYSC. So we'll just write there for you NYSC syndrome.
Okay, now for those in the diaspora, you mentioned something about that earlier on. How easy is it for them to be a part of, let's say, the exam that will be coming up maybe this year or next? What is the process for them, and where are some of those centers?
We conduct examination in 9 foreign countries. I told you earlier that we're trying to encourage foreigners also coming to Nigeria to schools and all this, and so we have gone there. It is very expensive for us because it's like we're just wasting money and all this thing, but the benefits far outweigh whatever cost that we're spending.
People are applying? They're applying?
Yes, people apply. Yes, they apply. We have centers in UK. We have centers in Cameroon. We have in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. We have in Cameroon. We have in Cotonou. We have in Ghana. Like that. 9 centers. We're trying to establish one in Germany, in Berlin, for the European countries and stuff like that. And then one in the US, so it has not happened yet. So they do this examination, and then they are admitted into Nigeria. And we have even encouraged some of these institutions to even give them scholarship where necessary and stuff like that, so that we can pull them to come to Nigeria to school.
We'll be wrapping up shortly and letting you go back to your session. Thank you for your time so far. And you mentioned even in Saudi Arabia and all that, they use hijabs and different forms of dressing. It reminded me of the one that happened in Lagos where somebody was stopped because of the hijab and all that. How was that sorted out? And really, what is the position of JAM as per religious types of dressing?
Well, we have, we walk in line with what the law allows and stuff like that. Dress code and stuff like that. So if you're a Muslim, dress code, we have tried to incorporate that into our code of operations and stuff like that. So yes, we've had some instances that people who do not know what we do try to go against some of these things, and it has almost created crisis. But the good thing is that at each point we're able to call them to order to be sure that people are allowed to express their religion beliefs. If you wear hijab, we'll have ladies in each center. We ensure that ladies are there who will check them. Once they are checked and all these things, they're allowed to go into their examination.
And for people who are found wanting, people who have cheated, aside withholding the results and so on, for those who've done something wrong, do you have other punishments that you usually will mete out to people who've fallen short in the area of integrity during these exams?
Well, the law makes provision for such candidates to be prosecuted and stuff like that. And it's prescribed in jail term of 7 years without the option of fine or order. But the challenge we have is that prosecution is very, very expensive. We don't have the power to prosecute. So you can only depend on what maybe the police is doing and stuff like that. So that is very, very expensive for us. There are candidates who are prosecuted. If I've been in the news, you'll see that there are some candidates in Ondo State. Some of them have even been sentenced to 2 years, 3 years time, all this. And some of them were granted bail. They could not meet the bail condition. They just get a bail condition of 1 million naira and stuff like that. But if you begin to chase these criminals left, right, and center, if you're not careful, you will even lose the focus of what you are doing. So at times we do selective prostitution. We just select from each region. You have one from Southwest, one from Southeast, one from South-South, and one from North Central, North-East, and some of them, just to have the federal character in even the prosecution and some of that. But we're doing that to serve as deterrent. And so we, even now, as I speak with you, there are candidates that we want to pick up. Some people that talking about the inflation of scores, that if you pay these, they will pay your scores and all this. We're also monitoring and we're picking some of them. In fact, we're collaborating with the Police National Cyber Crime Center, who are also going after these people and really getting them, picking them up and stuff like that.
It reminds me of Memsoma and highest scorer thing of every after every exam, and I'm wondering, were there lessons learned from the Memsoma saga? Plus, are we still talking about the highest scorer for the year? Do we have that?
Say again, please.
Now, I was saying, what you just said reminded me of the Memsoma saga, and I wanted to find out if there are some lessons learned from that saga, and also if we have a highest scorer for the year, and if it does count in any way. Because I was reading something the registrar said, and what you also said now, the fact that you may be the highest scorer and still not get into school. So, do we still talk about the highest scorer? Plus, did we learn anything from Memsoma's saga?
A lot has been learned, and that's why we also remain adamant on our position that, look, some of these things, if you notice that you see that our result is not in the clouds, up and down, candidates are still pulling through their telcos and so on, because we discovered that it will be easy for them to print. If it is a cloud, they will print this thing and begin to manipulate it to show their parents and stuff like that. We do have, certainly in every examination, there will be somebody that has come top and stuff like that. Even in health, when you examine so many people, there will one that will have a case will be the worst of all the candidates and stuff like that. But we have what we call the policy meeting, which comes out maybe sometime in June or July. At that policy meeting, some of these things will be made there for Nigerians to know and stuff like that. But what we have done consistently is to encourage stakeholders that when you want to award any scholarship or any prize for anybody, please write to us. Let us give you, let us tell you, let us confirm whatever claim that such a candidate is having. Because chances are that some of them will just be claiming whatever they want to claim and you go ahead awarding the grand scholarship to people that are not even deserving of such things. Just write to us on individual level. You can even do us an FOI. We'll confirm if the claim, the result the person is claiming to have obtained is genuine or not.
So, can we know who did the best amongst all of them this year? If there is any word like best in the
not
midst.
now.
Okay, not now.
Not
when
now.
it's ready, you let us know, right? Okay.
Yes, we'll let Nigeria know.
That'll be good. So let me just say one or two more messages, then Joseph will say something and we'll wrap up. The person who talked about the combination thing earlier on and the cutoff mark, he said that he went as far as the VC's office, but obviously when this happens to him, the channel for that complaint may not have been available at that point, but he just ran through the process he went through. Then another person is saying something about OT law. He's saying that help me to ask the guests, why is it that when you score above your cutoff point, you still need to write an aptitude test before getting admission, and in some case you fail the aptitude test, then the JAM result is called OT law. Is that not a business?
No, that is not true. That if you look at, we have done what we call correlation study, and we've seen that the performance of candidates in our examination actually correlates with most of these positive academics. In fact, in some cases, the candidate will score more in the positive than even our own exercise. So it's not the issue of you fail, you pass, and then or whatever it is.
So Port Harcourt Boy is also asking, why can't the results last for at least 3 years? Indirectly, how long do the results last for?
Validity, that's the key issue of validity.
Yes.
And I told you, I said our examination is a selection examination.
Yes.
And if you look at it, it's achievement, it's not aptitudinal. You can only bank, that is banking. You can only bank an examination that is aptitudinal. Like today, if we transit from what we are doing to aptitude, at that point you can bank the examination, and at that point we will not be doing the subject-based examination that we are doing. If you look at aptitude tests, you'll be doing quantitative analysis, you'll be doing all some of the subjects. There are only 3 subjects that will cover everything, and everybody will do the same examination. That is the only one that can test the true nature of somebody's intelligence. But now what we do is just an achievement examination to rank candidates.
Okay. So you've heard that Port Harcourt boy. It's not, this one, they're not a bank this one. If you use this one, take back Akara. If it no work, next year come again. So Joseph.
Doctor, thank you very much for a lot of innovation that you have rolling out through. So what can you do to help us monitor that higher institutions meet up their quota for admission for a year? Then can we know update on JAMB in correctional center? What is the update now?
I don't understand what you mean by JAMB in correctional center.
Which one is
you do
correctional
exam
center?
in prison. Okay, let me use the word
in
prison.
prisons and so on.
I understand correctional, but I don't understand. So what can I help you do?
What are the updates? How far with the exam, the innovation that people in the prison
are they able to write the exams in prisons?
Yes, they do. They do. They write. We take it to them. We have a center in Ikoyi. We have a center in Kaduna prison and stuff like that. They write their exam, and especially for those who have served their term. You have their term and they are born on your mind.
Is it CBT too or manual?
It's CBT. It's CBT. Nobody does manual.
Oh, wow.
It's CBT. But there are candidates, people who have, they are just at the tail end of their jail term. And they are finishing so that when they pass and they do well, let me know also use the word pass. And then they are admitted, they can get the admission after finishing their something. And some of them in open universities, they have centers in some of these prisons where they attend those programs and stuff like that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Benjamin. Finally, before you go, what do you have to say about the IGR bits? There are people who believe that JAMB should not be concerned about IGR. Instead, should be concerned about just making sure it's all about the selection process and not getting IGR for the government and so on. What is your stance on this?
We are not generating IGR. You know, the laws mandate every agency of every services. And when we sit down and discover that, okay, we have done this job satisfactorily, but we have excess income, we return that to government. It is not an IGR thing. It was out of this policy of returning this in that at least candidates, the cost of registration was sliced down by 1,500. And then they are collected, they're charging for 3,500 now and stuff like that. If we were not returning, if we are not doing this thing, prudently, we wouldn't have even known that, look, we have much that we can slice down. Like I speak with you now, we are beginning to discover that we even need more. So chances are that in the near future, maybe we may even up the cost of our registration because a lot of operational costs have gone high and stuff like that. So we are not generating IGR. But when we finish this process and we discover that we have something left, of course, we cannot carry it and go and throw it in the lagoon. I know that many people would have preferred where we spend it or maybe we share it and all those.
Like some people were pointing to their pockets now. Don't mind them. Share the money.
I will also be happy if the money is here and I'm giving something substantial. I think some of my friends are there in the studio with me. I can take them out and buy them some glass of champagne and stuff like that. But you can see that we're trying to serve the nation to do what is right and then to live by example.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, for your time today and for the education. Now, I won't call it pass or fail anymore. It's a selection process. Yes, again, that one.
Yes, thank you very much. It's really my pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. Enjoy your session in Ibadan. And one of these days, hopefully, we'll do it live in the studio. Yeah?
Certainly.
Okay, safe journey back to your base. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, good. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We've been speaking with Dr. Fabian Benjamin, spokesman for JAMB, and he's walked us through some bits. And one message on YouTube made me laugh. The person says, Cordelia, calm down, let the man educate you. I said, okay, no vex. Now, Shebi, I don't educate now. But it was a pleasure. And as I said, I hope one day it will be live in the studio. Joseph Olorenshaw, thank you so much for your time today. We'll do this again on Monday. I'm Cordelia Obe. I hope we got something out of that session. Thank you, Biodun Odejiji. this your name. I want to practice on throughout the weekend for all the work.
Maybe write it 1,000 times.
For all the work throughout this week. Esther Wanchuku is set to take us on the news. Esther, come nearer now. Let me hear your lovely voice before I go. Give her mic. Hold on, let's give you the mic. So Esther, I'm very sure for the news today.
Yes.
One major thing. Kano has to be there.
Yes, of course, Kano will definitely be there. That's one of the stories that, they should anticipate to listen to. Yeah. And funny enough, the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway?
Yes.
All right, you guys should stay tuned for that.
My sister,
it's drama.
I am realigning myself.
Please.
I'm de-aligning. I am Otiloin.
I'm telling you.
All right,
Thank
Esther
you.
takes it off now with the news. I'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.
Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Do not touch that